Okay, can you hear me? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming, all the members of the council, sheriffs, police chiefs, fire chiefs. Thank you so much, Ms. Hoffmaster. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a presentation from Mayor Tom Dermody. The presentation came up from the Boone County Sheriff through Laporte to us about the public safety local income tax. Before we get started with Tom's presentation, Mr. Andrew Mauser of Baker Tilly would like to have the floor to make some comments about this program. Andrew?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. And good evening, council members and others here this evening. I did want to provide just a little bit of context on our involvement here today. I know many of you, obviously through our work with Michigan City, we've been longtime advisor to the Redevelopment Commission, and then here more recently, directly with the city through some of our American Rescue Plan advisory work, EDA grant application that we're finalizing this week, and some other engagements as well. So we do have a long-standing relationship with the city of LaPorte as well. And Mayor Dermody has been working with Paige Sandstone in our office to take a look at potential impacts of a public safety local income tax. And unfortunately, Paige had a conflict here this evening, but I was glad to fill in for her and, really hear more just in kind of a supporting role. Some of the numbers that I know Mayor Dermody will go through here this evening are numbers that we had helped prepare as far as estimates. What could a public safety lit produce? We're involved with local income tax around the state, various trends that we see. So if there's any questions that Mayor Dermody is unable to answer, really wanted to be here just kind of more in a supporting role this evening. And I know many of you have my contact information. So if there's any questions that come up, that you don't think of this evening, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or give me a call, in the coming days or weeks. So thanks. And I'll turn it back to the Mayor Dermody.
Thank you, Andy. And council, thank you for the opportunity to present in front of you today. With me is Chief Paul Breton, head of our police department, Andy Snyder, head of our fire department, Sheriff John Boyd, and EMS Director Andrew McGuire could not make it this afternoon, but he has been at some of the other presentations. We are here to talk tonight, that started a couple months ago, about our public safety crisis. And this is something that's just not in the city of LaPorte. We see it in LaPorte County with EMS. We see it with the Sheriff's Department. We obviously see Michigan City, just reading the most recent article in today's newspaper. The number of officers that you are down is very similar to what the city of LaPorte is down. So we made a presentation to LaPorte County Council to talk about the crisis and look at options of what many counties across the state are doing that the LaPorte County should consider. 71 of the 92 counties have passed a local income tax. This is something that took effect roughly around 2014, and LaPorte has held taxes in place for some time. But now with the new day, the new opportunity for officers, looking at choices, whether it's Porter County, St. Joe County, Lake County, EMS options for individuals, we need to look at something to secure what we believe in the city of LaPorte is a cornerstone for the future of our community, and that's public safety, that's law enforcement, that's firefighters. And some will say, oh, this is just for the city of LaPorte, but we've taken a step back and we've looked because we've heard the problems. We've seen the issues that we are all facing and said, we need to do something different and obviously do something that 71 of the 92 counties across the state of Indiana have enacted for the safety of our residents. And that is what we see with the public safety lit. And with that, something you would like to add, Mayor? Anything? Okay. So as we look at this and just sharing some of the headlines that has faced us over the past few months. Sorry, okay, so let's look and review some of the headlines. Number one, just physically cannot do it, where we have the head of EMS losing officers, yet the calls are 900 more this year already, or from last year, than they were the year before. And when you only have 7 ambulances countywide, and when Michigan City ambulances are having to come to LaPorte to deal with incidents, accidents, potential deaths, saving lives, how low do we go? How long do we wait before a real tragedy happens? I also pulled this from January 21. Gun violence is the new health crisis. This is an issue that we're facing. Sharp rise in overdose deaths. You see right here, actually, where Lynn Swanson, the county coroner, the numbers are staggering, where they have over 20% increase in drug overdose in LaPorte County last year versus this year or the year before. So we're looking at this saying, this is not what public safety has been in the past. This is a new day. So much more is being asked of our public safety team that we have to look at this differently and make sure that we are keeping the ones that are trained here and make sure we have enough officers, firefighters, EMS to protect our residents on a countywide basis. And then today, Elkhart Fire issues warning after fentanyl-laced marijuana leads to overdoses. And I will tell you, in the last week, our fire department has averaged 1 to 2 Narcans a day, no longer a week, but a day, dealing with overdose situations. And this is in Elkhart today. How long, if it's not here already, is this going to happen in LaPorte, Wanata, La Crosse, Michigan City, across our county? So when we talk about tax increases, nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to do it. I don't care, Republican, Democrats, nobody wants to pass a tax increase. But I think we have to look at this from our perspective as an investment in the future of our county and of our residents. And those that will say we are tax and spend has to look at property tax relief. And when the property tax caps took effect, something that I supported in the legislature and that 70% of Hoosiers voted for across the state of Indiana, understand we give back, we, Michigan City, LaPorte, Wanata, La Crosse, schools, LaPorte County, TIFs, we give back $32 million to homeowners in the form of property tax relief. That's difficult, and I've been in business all my life, to run a business where you're giving back, reducing your budget, yet not reducing the expenses that go along with that, and still expected to give top quality services. So I will speak from the city of LaPorte's perspective. We lose 25% of our revenue a year, yet we can't reduce police, fire, parks, streets, and getting all the work done. Michigan City, you look at your numbers, you're losing roughly 35% of your budget due to property tax caps. Over 9 million, that's probably more than 35% possibly then. But I will tell you, I'm not sure how you in the future provide the services needed, especially in police and fire, when you're down 10 officers and your budgets are being reduced by 35%. Absolutely. And it's not going to be reduced. And you throw in the population growth that we're going to see. You're having the South Shore double track. That's going to generate more individuals here in our community. We hope it's going to generate more in the city of LaPorte. We're trying
Air
to.
Germany,
Yes.
if there's a question in the room, can you repeat it so that we can hear it online?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, we couldn't hear what was said.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So understand, I stand with Michigan City and all local units that we're being very responsible with the taxpayers' money because we give $32 million back. So with the local income tax option, how does the city or how does the county of LaPorte compare to other surrounding counties? And let's look at Marshall, Lake, Stark, St. Joe, growing communities, progressive communities, developing, growing people, buildings, businesses. Look at their income tax rate. We're at a 0.95. In Lake, they're at 1.50. St. Joe, local income tax of 1.75. And even when you look at the most conservative counties, Pulaski, Jasper, 2.85%, 2.86. These surrounding communities understand that they need to control their future with their own local income tax rate. And then if we compare to the state of Indiana and 92 counties across the way, the state average is 1.7816%. Not the state high, the state average for counties of local income tax is 1.7816. LaPorte, one of the lowest 6 counties across the state, is at 0.95. What we're asking the county council to consider is 0.50% increase. That will bring us to a 1.45% local income tax rate, which is still 20% less than the state average. Again, not the state high, but the state average. So when we talk about a local income tax rate, number one, I, as all of us, are concerned about senior citizens. Anybody that's receiving Social Security will not pay this local income tax. So right off the bat, anybody receiving Social Security will be protected and not have to pay into this system. And when you look at taxable income, nobody wants to hurt low-income individuals, but they deserve and they need services too. And when you look at LaPorte County, where is the highest percent of low income? The number one done by the Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte, a separate entity, are the 3 blocks next to City Hall in the city of LaPorte. Jefferson, Maple Avenues in LaPorte is the highest impoverished area in LaPorte County. Not Michigan City, not Kingsford Heights, anywhere but the 3 blocks right from our downtown. And they, as we talk to them, $8.33 at the low end, they expect and deserve and want the best public safety that they can have in police, fire, and EMS. And I will tell you, that's where a lot of our time is spent protecting those individuals from illegal activity, violence, and so forth. But when we only have 4 officers on a ship for the city of LaPorte, it's hard to protect our city and address the increase of calls that are happening on a daily basis. So as you move along here, the state taxable income, someone making $80,000 a year is $33.33 per month. Or over $200,000, $83 a month. But this gives you an idea at 0.5 what that would cost. Now you could support, say, hey, maybe the county should only pass a 0.25 or a 0.20 or something less than that. As Sheriff from Boone County, Nielsen has stated, and many other counties, because I will also say this from a political perspective, there's not been one person that has lost an election due to passing a local income tax statewide. And Sheriff Nielsen, when he passed it, he won by 84% of the vote, passing a 0.50 increase at the exact same time. But what people have said across the state, if you're concerned about people being upset, they're going to be just as much upset of a 0.25 that they will be at a 0.50. If you do a 0.25, if you do a 0.20, you're going to be back in 2 years doing it again. And that's what upsets the taxpayer, coming back. So these are the estimates based on the allocation. And if you look at a 0.50, and again, what we're talking about is a half of a 1% of someone's wage. Half of 1% of somebody's wage. And we've also asked the state, and something to consider to make it easy. Right now, we've gone to 10 communities that have passed it unanimously. 10 of the communities have passed this unanimously. And some of the county council members have asked about a referendum. Number one, I think we all have to be willing to make the tough vote, not worry about our next election, but do what's right for our residents. But number two, I'm not sure of a better referendum than going countywide like we were asked to do and having a unanimous vote and not one individual speak against it at any of the public meetings. And we've also asked, said, hey, is there a possibility to put in the legislation this year, anybody that votes no, let's take them out of the equation financially, not tax their community, and not have them receive any of the lit funds. So we're potentially working on that just to have a backup to make every community board or council safe that, hey, if you vote no, maybe you won't have to worry about taxing your residents of your community. So that's something we're continuing to try to see if we can find language for to add that. But again, the first 10 communities, it might be 11 now, but it's 11 now, have passed it unanimously. So what are the allowable uses? And I know the county commissioners are focused just on salaries. This really, salaries is not the only item. As I've said in the city of LaPorte, we have at least over 200 high-risk warrants that need to be addressed, and we send our officers out in bicycle helmets. And I know Chief Breton gets upset when I say that, but we have equipment that are out of warranty. We are putting officers in police cars that have more foam than leather. We're beginning to address this, but we want to have an aggressive approach to keep our community safe, putting our firefighters who are doing 2,500 medical calls a year. We have to be able to fund these individuals to keep people safe and address their health situation. Sheriff Boyd's going to come up and talk a little bit about what they see. But as you can see here, if the county takes the blinders off and actually looks at the opportunities to improve our services, there's plenty of areas where they can use these lit funds that, again, 71 of 92 counties have done and haven't given back because it's working well for them. Zionsville increased by adding 9 more police officers. But you can use this, and Sheriff will talk about even the medical care and the costs that are required. But there's an opportunity for the future of law enforcement here in LaPorte County if we all band together in support of the county council to pass this public safety lit. So with that, Sheriff Boyd, I know you wanted to make some comments.
Good. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for having us in this afternoon to advocate on behalf of our departments and the people that we provide services to. We at the Sheriff's Office, much like the Michigan City Police Department, the LaPorte Police Department, our county EMS, we're bleeding employees. We're about 5 down at the Sheriff's Office right now. And as you know, LaPorte County is the second largest county in the state of Indiana geographically, 14th largest population-wise. To serve the people that we serve in LaPorte County in the geographic area that we serve, we have 67 sworn positions. Unfortunately, we don't have 67 sworn officers, but that includes everyone from me to our newest patrol deputy. That does not include our support staff, does not include our jail correctional. But with that said, our calls for service over the last 10 years, as we track them, have gone up 31%. In 2017, we did a staffing study at the Sheriff's Office, and we took information and recommendations from the International Association of Chiefs of Police, from the National Sheriff's Association, and the Department of Justice. And at that time in 2017, for an agency the size of the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office, for the population that we serve, the geographic territory that we provide services for, it was recommended that we have about 1.8 officers per 1,000 residents that we serve, which would have put us at about 81 deputies. We were at 64 at the time. And based on that presentation to our county council, they awarded us 3 additional positions. That's what they could afford at the time. We haven't grown since then. We were fortunate to get those 3 additional deputies. That has since changed, and now the recommendation is 2.6 officers per 1,000 individuals that we serve. So we should be at about 86. We're well below that. When we were in La Crosse the other night, one of the town board members was very supportive, as they all have been. But the town board member indicated that she said, of course, I'm going to support this, but one of the things that I'm asking is, please tell me that this will go for additional deputies, because I know how long the response times are for calls for service, and certainly it would. And at the Sheriff's Office, we're a little bit different than, say, the Michigan City Police Department or the LaPorte Police Department, in that I'm responsible for the jail. And with the jail comes a lot of liability, but a lot of additional services that we have to provide. The cost of feeding our inmates has gone through the ceiling, just like it's gone through the ceiling for you as consumers. You're experiencing the increase in the cost of milk, the cost of eggs, the cost of bread, the cost of anything that you put on the table for your family. Well, we do too, but it magnify it. But we serve an average of 350 inmates a day, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. On average, we serve about 500,000 meals. And imagine the expense involved in that, because the expense of the food has gone up just as it has for you. You may not realize it, but we're the 3rd largest healthcare provider in LaPorte County. And to give you perspective in that, we're just behind Franciscan and LaPorte Hospital. But every arrest that occurs in LaPorte County, whether it's a Michigan City officer that arrests someone, or LaPorte, or the Indiana State Police who arrest someone in LaPorte County, they all come to the LaPorte County Jail, and we are responsible. The Sheriff's Office and you as taxpayers, the public, are responsible for providing medical. You know how expensive medical care is for you. Imagine the cost of medical care for our inmates. And the vast majority of our inmates are requiring medical care because they don't take care of themselves on the inside. On the outside, they're free. But when they come to the jail, it's now our responsibility, and we have to pay that. The taxpayers pays for their medical expenses. But in addition to that, we're the largest mental health provider in all of LaPorte County. The cost of mental health care for inmates, and over half of our inmates in our jail not only have mental health issues, but they have significant mental health issues. That's very expensive for us to provide. The cost of gasoline for our police cars, the cost of tires for our cars. For our patrol vehicles, we average about 2 sets of tires a year, and that's between $700 and $900 each time we have to change tires on our police vehicles. The cost continues to go up. And rightfully so. We're not in a revenue generating industry in law enforcement. We shouldn't be, but someone has to pay for that. And our budget remains the same. Several years ago, we were asked by our county council to trim it by 10%. And as I went in and jokingly said with them, 10% of nothing is nothing. How do you expect us, when the cost of doing business has gone up, for us to trim the budget even more? This isn't something that we take lightly. We are really at a crossroads where we simply cannot attract good qualified applicants. And this is about recruitment, and it's about retention of the employees that we have, along with providing the services to the public and those that are in our jail that we're responsible for. And it's not easy coming before you as sheriff and saying, we're asking for your support in this, but I'm before you asking for your support on this very important program. So we can continue to grow with the population and the demands of the public that we serve and that we can provide. And so we can get the best possible qualified applicants. And you trust that if you have an emergency and you dial 911, when you dial 911, that there's someone that's going to answer the phone within 1 or 2 rings, and they're going to have the ability to retain the information that you provide and relate it to the proper law enforcement, emergency medical service, or fire department so that we can get help to the people that need it when they need it, and the victims that need our help. Those in our community expect the highest qualified individuals with the best possible equipment to arrive so that they can take life-preserving measures. So I thank you for your time tonight, and I thank you for your consideration, and I urge that you support this referendum.
Thank you, Sheriff. And, you know, as the sheriff has discussed, it kind of follows up with what Chief Campbell has said in today's article that we saw in the Herald Dispatch, looking for quality officers and maintaining quality officers. You know, when he joined, it was 100 police officers, now down to 73, yet firearm offenses have gone up 22.78%. And you're doing things, you're looking for things such as housing to attract quality officers and to allow them to stay in the city of Michigan City and live here. But you also want what we want, the technology, and to be able to pay for that, the license plate readers in the past. And again, at 25% of a loss in the city of LaPorte, I know that will be difficult to do, but I can't imagine at 36% of a loss to your budget in Michigan City, how you can provide much of those items that are necessary to keep your officers, your firefighters safe moving forward. So we seem to be on the same path of need for our county. Any other chiefs like to say a word, or we'd be glad to take questions, answer anything. Obviously, as Sheriff Boyd has said, we would certainly appreciate your support and be able to answer any questions. And I think Councilman Fitzpatrick, is that correct? Do I need to do anything with this? Oh, one thing before I do, you know, we've kind of come up with, we support public safety. At some point, it has to be about life and death and not so much about dollars and cents. So I'll leave you with that. Councilman Fitzpatrick. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dermody. I appreciate the presentation and you taking your time to come over here and explain this to us. I think that's some pretty good points you made, and I think public safety is definitely something that's of the utmost importance to all of us, myself, you know, being in the not so much safety, but in the profession where I work hand in hand with law enforcement regularly. A couple of concerns of mine is not so much the amount of the tax or how we will be implementing it. I think the bigger problem that I have is we're doing this with a bunch of us sitting here looking like Hollywood squares, and the public isn't here to voice their concerns because it's their money we're talking about spending and allocating for whatever reason. And if it's to their benefit, that's fine. But, you know, in Michigan City, it's about 31,000 residents or so. And for, you know, 7 attendees in the chat room and us right here making all these final decisions, I don't think that when this does come to a resolution in front of us, I don't think I can support it if the public isn't there to engage with us so we can hear their concerns. Because, you know, if it's an elderly person that may be on Social Security, but if they have a supplemental income through like rental properties or small business they own, then those funds would be subject to this tax. And if they're on a fixed income and unable to provide basic needs, and we know with seniors dealing with medical prescriptions and stuff is always a concern there. So it may be something that we may say is only $30, it's only $100, but to someone that's all they have, $100 is everything. So I would like to entertain this, and I think this is a good idea because we are far behind as far as getting the funds that we need to do what we do to increase our public safety. But I think it's a little bit out of sorts for us to have this type of conversation without the public input. I know that they could see on Facebook and they could join the webinar, but most of these people aren't tech savvy. They'd rather come talk to us in person. So until we're at that point, I don't think that I could support this personally. Thank you.
And I guess, go ahead, Mayor.
Councilman, we really do appreciate your comments. The reason that we're having this tonight is expediency. We're not asking you to approve it tonight or tomorrow. At your council meetings, you have public comment. During the next few weeks, we can gather how the public feels about this. We call this tonight for expediency. And I will say I support this, and I'm asking you to support it, not because 71 counties ahead of us have supported this. It's because we need these revenues. We know what's going on in Michigan City. We know we're having difficulties. We've managed our monies as well as we can, but the demand keeps going. We're going up. We're so close to Chicago that we experience the things that Chicago experiences, so many of them. And that's why I'm asking you to support this, because if we're getting ready to undergo a great growth period, and if Michigan City cannot offer the quality of life, the public safety and the security that those coming over to Northwest Indiana want, they will live here, but they will live outside Michigan City. They live in LaPorte County. They'll live in New Carlisle area, St. Joe. They'll live just over the line in Porter County. And we need this growth. We need this growth for the revenues. We need this growth for the future. So that's why I'm asking you to support this. Just for your information, this morning at the Michigan City Economic Development Corporation meeting, a vote was taken and it was unanimous that the MCEDC supports this. So please keep that in mind and think hard, if you would, about this. Thank you.
I do have a question about the timeline. I know we've talked about it a little bit. Let me unraise my hand, but can we talk more about the timeline and what this looks like? It's,
Sure.
When it goes into effect. Did the county commissioners or council give you a time frame for these resolutions? Because I think they gave was it an ultimatum or just a recommendation they wanted? And what that timeline looks like.
Sure. And just to add to Councilman Fitzpatrick, and I know you know this, there is a cost to not doing nothing or doing anything. And that's people's lives. And I was at a 100-person event last evening. We talked about this lit, not one out of the 100. And these are people who lived in LaPorte, from seniors to 30-year-olds and in between, and not one opposed it because, again, they want their law enforcement, they want their firefighters, they want their EMS. And the other part is, right now, our officers are looking for sustainability. It's City of LaPorte's, Michigan City's, LaPorte County. Right now, they have options. They can go make $25,000 more tomorrow, and ARP funds, the federal funds, there's no sustainability there. And Sheriff Boyd just lost 2 officers last week, one to Lake County, one to Munster. And we have applications. You have officer applications that are going out. We see these, we hear them. Our officers are looking because there is not sustainability. If they know this passes, that gives them the support that they need for the future. And so council, first of all, the commissioners don't have a vote. The county commissioners do not have a vote. It's strictly the county council. They've asked us to go out during the month of February to all the towns, councils for a resolution support. And remember, this resolution does not raise a tax. It just would support the county council to support the lit. So if they pass it in March, which is where their goal is to pass or at least take a vote in the end of March, payments or dollars would then come out of income beginning October 1 of 2020. And Andrew, tell me if I'm wrong, but it would be October 1st, 2022. And then payments to all local entities in 1/12 increments would begin in January of 2023. And those are based on estimates that would then be, what's the term, Andy? They would be corrected. They would be by November of 2023.
Right. Yeah, kind of reconciled.
Reconciled.
Once actual bills come in. No, that timing's correct. Yeah, October's kind of the deadline to get distributions in place for 2023.
Mayor Dermody.
Dab, I have to be formal. Councilman Dabney.
All right. I heard this conversation and been going over this conversation, so eventually I'm going to come around to supporting this. But one thing I'm going to want to see, because I remember going through a referendum over here in regards to our school system that failed epically. And one of the big reasons, we had a lot of confusion out there about the actual dollars. What would be the dollar amounts, after the property tax or whatever would be raised. And I hope there is a calculator out there that we would be able to put out somewhere so people can see, if you make such and such an income, this is what the yearly tax would be, monthly tax would be, so people can see that. I think that is a form of transparency that we can put out there up front so people can see. So hopefully there's a calculator like that in the mix when we finally decide to get this out here and start talking about it. Because obviously now that we're having this, is going to be conversation at our council meetings. So I think that's going to be key. So everybody knows exactly where my dollars are going. And then obviously with those caveats that you put in there, so people collecting Social Security would not be paying into it and everything like that. The more information that we can get out there earlier, the better it's going to be. But I really feel that if we have some kind of calculator that would tell the people, if they pull this thing up, they put $50,000 in there, and it tells them, boom, this is what's going to happen for that year. This would go a long way for transparency and making sure that people are comfortable with what we're trying to do. That'll help a lot.
Hey, Dab, I got Andrew Mauser here. Do you think that what you saw based on the 0.5, if you're making 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, is that not enough? Does that work to give to the public?
You're asking Andrew or myself?
Well, and Andrew's available. I don't know, from a technology, you can do a calculator, but from your perspective, is that piece that you just saw not enough for the public?
I'll just answer that myself. I think that is good information. But that thing, I saw it going down in $10,000 increments. And if we had something that could pinpoint, somebody is making 63,000, 64, 44, 31, that type of thing, I just think it would be all the more better if we can do that.
Andrew, I guess we could probably, I'm not tech savvy, but I would assume we could do something like that.
Yeah, we could certainly make that more input friendly. We had kind of done, tiers of income, but we could make it where somebody could put a number in and it would spit out what their impact would be on an annual or monthly basis. That wouldn't be difficult at all. So I'd be glad to do that.
I think what Councilman Dabney is asking is, can you simply break it down more?
Yeah, we absolutely can do that.
So just to clarify, because the timeline, I just want to reiterate it again. So the county council is looking to vote for this in March, before the end of end of March. So I'm assuming there's a timeline for this to hit this 10/1 mark, October 1st, 2022. And that's when the money will start coming out of checks?
Correct.
Okay. And then distributions will start monthly, January 1 of 2023.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, if I could clarify on that, I believe, and I will want to double check this, but I believe if the county passes by the end of August, it would start coming out of checks in October and then be distributed in 2023. If it gets passed in that end of August to end of October timeframe, then it wouldn't come out of checks until the beginning of 2023 and then be distributed in 2023.
Okay. So that helps, because I was trying to understand the March timeline. So it truly is, it has to be in effect before the August 31st time frame for it to begin October 1st.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Dermody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Councilman Perbolinski, Don Perbolinski. I have a couple comments and then a couple questions. The comments are, and I agree with Councilman Fitzpatrick, Councilman Dabney, Simmons, probably all the council members, that we have to get a feel of what our constituents here in Michigan City, how they feel about this tax. And I don't think that we should be pushed into a corner just by being able to vote on a resolution in 2 weeks when we had this meeting here with just a week and a half to go before our next meeting, and then asking us to impose a tax on the citizens of Michigan City. And I know, I guess, I don't know if it's by state law or who made the date up that the county council has to vote on this. But I don't know why the end of March is the date. And the reason I say that is I think that should be extended out, because as far as getting the information out to the public, I know we have Facebook, I know we have the city website, but, there was just we got this notice out to everybody in the water bills about whether we want a dog park or not down on the beach. I think this here is a little bit more important than a dog park, but that we could put this in the next month's water bill and have the people, either go online, give them a direction to go online and to vote yay or nay, whether they care about it, or at whatever council meeting the council is going to talk about this, that they could chime in at the next council meeting, or they could mail in their ballot to City Hall to see how they feel about the tax. That way we get a somewhat of a solid opinion base of how people feel about it. If a lot of people vote on it, say they want it, okay, that gives us a feel. And if a lot of people don't even respond to it, that also gives you a feel about whether people aren't worried about it, and they say go ahead and pass it. So those are the things that I want to see put in place before I support this, because I want to know what the citizens of Michigan City, how they feel, and not just how, the city council feels. That's what I'd like to do. And then going back to the tax itself, and being on the council for a while and knowing about assessed evaluations and where different communities get their financing from and how other communities are a little bit more money rich than LaPorte is, Michigan City is. But if you take Chesterton, you take Valpo, you take Munster, you take those kind of cities, their assessed valuations are always going to be higher than what Michigan cities are, what LaPorte's are. And I guess my point is that their salaries, even if we impose their tax, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to catch up with the salaries that they pay in Valpo, or they pay in Chesterton, or they pay in Munster. You know, and talking to our city controller, we just don't have that. We just don't have that money. I mean, even if we generate, say, another $1.5 million a year that goes for medical or goes for emergency services, I don't know if all that's going to go towards salaries for police officers and for fire department officers and everything else that goes along with it. So that's my take on it. And that's my feelings, that I'm not going to vote on this until I know exactly how the people in Michigan City feel about it. Thank you.
Well, and I appreciate that, Don. And I will tell you, we've been proactive. We've been out in the community in the city of LaPorte for quite some time now. But when we say this is a crisis, it truly, at least from our eyes and the county's eyes with the sheriff here, this is a crisis. And so while you wait and gather information, officers are going to leave. EMS are going to leave. And how low do you go? And here's the thing, property tax caps, when 70% of Hoosiers voted for a property tax reduction, how many people really knew what they were voting on except they saw a tax reduction? I'm not sure you can ask a simple question. And again, I'm not trying to suggest this is what you do or not, but asking a simple question about a tax increase for public safety, most people aren't going to support that without knowing all involved in what's happening. So I would suggest to you that most likely everybody's going to say no, don't support it.
Tom, if I can I respond back?
Please.
To what you're saying? Yeah, and I wouldn't say that most people are going to say no. You know, you send out a 2-page flyer in a water bill, and you put the bullet points in there, the important things, and you give them time. You get a deadline, send it back, and not being so we get the information. Well, just like you said, Mayor Dermody, you've been out in the city of LaPorte. You've been out talking to community groups, I'm sure, because you're trying to get this passed for the city of LaPorte. We haven't done anything in the city of Michigan City as far as having community meetings, having, you know, a notice in the water bills, having anything on Facebook. Nothing has even been in the paper from the mayor or the council as far as, you know, the bullet points on this whole program. We haven't done any of that in Michigan City. And just to wait another month, another 6 weeks, I don't know what the damage is going to be. And sure. I don't think that officers are going to, if they can't wait that long, if they got it in their minds they're going to leave, I think they got it in their minds they're going to leave anyway. I'm just saying, from a council member's perspective, we need time to gather information. I would think the administration would want to have information instead of just saying, yeah, let's pass this tax. I'm for it. Let's pass it. Well, there's 9 individuals on the city council that maybe don't feel that way, and we want information. I don't know how the other council members feel, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
And I agree with Don about the money, the lack of money, and at a 35% loss to the circuit breaker, that money's not going to come, and 25% for the city of LaPorte. We're not going to get those funds, and this is the only way to make that up and replace the dollars that we are losing.
Councilman Don Priswinski, I'd like to respond to that we haven't done anything here in Michigan City before tonight because I have not been involved in this effort that long. We can wait, but tonight was to distribute information. That's why we're going Facebook, we're going Zoom. The public has the opportunity to gather the information tonight. Now, if we want to wait, we can do that. But what we need to do is we need to appeal to the county council to extend their deadline. And then we can do the same thing that we are doing with the dog park, taking a poll through water bills. But you need to understand that 20,000 water bills don't go out in one day. It takes a month. Our billing cycle for the water department is 1 month long. They send out so many bills every week, and after a 4-week period, they've gone through another billing cycle. So we can wait. We can wait to make a decision on this if we have time. But let me ask you a question about your percentages. If we have a public forum up at the senior center or wherever, or the result of the poll says that 55% are for, 45% are against, how are you going to vote? It's an easy call on the dog beach because we started out at 80-20 and now we're finishing up at 70-30. But if this does not result in a strong number in favor, you're going to have a hard time voting. If it's 55-45, how are you going to vote? That's a difficult call. When we all ran for office, we all presented our platforms, our political philosophies, and then we trusted the public to decide whether or not they supported the type of people they were and what our values are. That's the way I feel that we are all in office to do. We've been looked at. The voters went to the polls and they looked at what our values were, what we felt about what good government was, and what we felt the priorities were. Now we need to make decisions with the belief that they're going to support us because they put us here.
Mr. Mayor.
Chief Campbell's hand has been up for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed like the hand raising was not being watched, so it was like freestyle. So I just wanted to jump in real quick with that. And I appreciate what Mayor Perry had to say as far as the public entrusted us to make this decision because obviously, the entirety of 100,000 people of LaPorte County can't be in these discussions at all times. But with that being said, does the county council even need our input to do this, or does it just look more favorable for them going into this election cycle to say, well, we got unanimous consent from all of the surrounding municipalities, and this is why we did this. It wasn't just our decision. It seems pretty convenient to pass the buck off to us right now.
They don't need your vote. They've asked for us to go out to all the towns, and they want, because some seated or Cadget counties require all the local units to vote for it. We do not in LaPorte County. So LaPorte County is a county that only requires the county council's approval. So with 11 of 11 right now, I don't know how they'll react or what they'll do moving forward if Michigan City doesn't take a vote or were to vote in opposition.
Councilman Fitzpatrick, that was an excellent comment. You hit the nail right on the head about the county council. And I'll relate an incident when we were doing the transit triangle. LaPorte took a look at the financial end of it. They felt it didn't work for them anymore. Purdue Northwest dropped out. I got calls from several members of the county council telling me that we should drop out, and it was to make the decision easier for them. I said, no, we're staying in it because we believe in it. And so that finally now our ridership is so low, we're dropping out. So we're the last ones though, because we didn't follow the herd.
Well, Sean, we've been informed we have at least 4 county council votes in support, and as of an hour and a half ago, possibly it looks like a 5th. So that have said they will support this decision.
Again, Campbell, I don't know if he his hand has been up for about 30 minutes.
I'm here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate council and both mayors putting this together. As most of the council members know, we have had personal conversations. I've had conversations with almost everyone except a few of you, and it's been a good dialogue and me sharing information, but also getting your input. And I think that has been very, very valuable because it's made me think about some things concerning this tax. But at the end of our dialogue, the Michigan City Police Department, myself, fully support this tax. I think the benefits outweigh anything that we could say against it. And I'll just tell you some of the reasons why I think it's important that we support it. Of course, the commissioners, LaPorte County has to vote on this, and I do understand the perspectives that have been brought forth. But I think that there's just a lot of benefits for us as a city going forward. And I'll just share some of my thoughts along with what Chief Legault and I have been talking about on how this benefits our city. But particularly, I'll talk about the Michigan City Police Department. One of our biggest challenges as a police department is our wages. I think that the LIT presents a tax to alleviate some of the burden off the city, off the council to find monies to support what we're doing. We have to be prepared for the future. The future is coming. The population increase is coming. The building is coming. And we have to build a robust police department where we can attract the absolute best officers that we can. Our challenges right now is just being at a competitive wage to start off for applicants. That's not saying we want to be the highest paid entity around, but we do need to be competitive. And a second very important factor is all of us are having challenges around an officer's fifth or sixth year where other departments come looking that have higher wages, and they are taking officers away from all of our departments in LaPorte County because they can offer them more money. And I think the lit tax would help with, first of all, making the Michigan City Police Department, putting us in a position to have a very competitive wage with the surrounding police departments, and also around the 5th to 6 years where we can offer an incentive package where the wages increase. And one of the challenges we have in our city is, where's this money going to come from? I think this is something that is staring us directly in the face. I had a very compelling conversation with Councilman Prespolinski, and he was very much concerned about our poverty rate in Michigan City and about those who would be challenged by this. And I get it. I agree 100%. I think all of our council people are concerned about those that don't have it much. But I think it's important to keep in mind, we just came out with our 2020 crime statistics. And when you look at our highest crime areas, and with the exception of Meyer, Walmart, Lighthouse, our high crime areas were all in some of our lower income neighborhoods. When we looked at the violent crime areas, those also were in some of our lower income areas. And what I've been saying for the past two years, the issue that we have in Michigan City will not be solved just by law enforcement alone. I think it will be solved by law enforcement working with our elected officials and also with the community. Law enforcement has a burden, the elected officials have a burden, and the community has a burden. One of the things when I look at that 25% poverty rate and, hey, we're raising taxes, my thought process went here is that just because you have a lower income, that does not affect your intelligence. It does not it shouldn't sway your responsibility to build our community or your ability to make a contribution. And I think that the tax takes into consideration and appropriates for the different income levels. And I think that's by increasing funding for emergency areas, that the people that are going to be impacted the most are where the highest levels of crime are taking place. So the question is always asked when things are going wrong, especially when it comes to crime. I'm always posed with the question, what are we going to do as a police department? But I believe we're in a position right now that we've been talking about, what are we going to do about this? And I think we have an opportunity to support something that I believe is very, very important to the future of Michigan City, and that could put us in a great position. And you're very intelligent people. We don't have to hard sell you. We see what it is, and doesn't seem like anyone is really against this, but the primary thing that's being highlighted is how the community feels. But the community has to have a burden because ultimately this is going to impact them. The more valued our first responders feel, they treat the community better, and the ability to have more police officers in our city is going to greatly impact crime levels. And I think that it's the thing that we needed. Thank you for giving me the space.
I think you did have a public comment. Is that a public comment?
I mean, if you want somebody to read it, but I know Councilwoman Jigas had her hand up as well.
Councilwoman?
Hi, thank you. Since we don't really have any other places to have revenue, I think this tax really is a no-brainer. And when you look at us compared to the rest of the counties in Indiana, ours is so low right now. So I am in favor of this, and I think we do need that revenue. I'm more curious about how do we allocate that revenue. So we're going to get our lump sum. What percent's going to go to police, fire? Do we have EMS expenses here? So I believe that's going to be up to the council to decide. But whether or not they do the tax, it's going to be up to the county council. We're just supporting them to say that we do need additional money to keep our employees. So thank you.
Is that correct, Andy, that we will make the decision, or is that still the same process that we normally do as far as an appropriation? Is there a calculation on where it goes, or is that some type of ordinance or plan that is created?
No, correct. I mean, this would be another revenue stream that you would budget for annually. So I know as you look at general fund, I mean, your current general fund, some of that comes from property tax dollars. Some of that comes from, existing local income tax dollars. So this would be another fund of revenue, another source of revenue that would, be something that you would budget for annually and allocate those expenses accordingly as you see fit.
Okay, because my only concern would be that, we get this money and then we subtract that from the police, the police and the fire's budget, and now we're just offsetting that and not really enhancing services. So I just want to make sure that that won't be the case, that if something like this is passed and we get through it, the fire department and police department's budget all of a sudden is cut, and now we use this money to offset it. And that is not what we would want to see. So thank you for just, sharing that. But there were some comments, and I'm not sure who that is, but there are comments in the chat. I don't know if somebody plans to read those.
The first one, Council President, I can read. Owner to everyone. If the tax increase does not occur, councilpersons should present a plan for where to get the money. You councilpersons were elected to represent voters, take control and vote. And the second one, so apparently that's in support, I think, of it. Second is do not squander funds on strengthening the traffic department. Put the money where it can help reduce and solve crime. Those are pressing issues of major concern. Traffic infractions are not worthy of a tax increase. Please incorporate this into the stipulations for the increase.
So I have a question. So next steps. So with the county council giving this date and Andy telling us that I'm sure the sooner the better. But I was thinking that March posed an issue of getting this done, but it sounds like it doesn't. So I guess I guess we will have to see what the next steps are, or if someone's going to present something to us. But this was good information, and hopefully with the COVID numbers going down, if this ends up on our agenda, hopefully the council chambers will be open for comment. So I think that's a lot of what we want to hear is we want to hear from the public. All I say is I encourage the public to reach out to their council members now. However you want to reach out. But, I know the numbers are going down. Hopefully we'll be back in the chambers in a couple of weeks.
And I
Thanks.
think the county council meeting is at the end of March. Don't hold me to like the 28th, but I thought sometime around then, so you do have time to, work with the public, talk with the public, and get their read and understanding.
Mayor Dermody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, question about that date on the county council's vote. So is that set in stone just by the council, or is that state law that you got to vote on it by a certain time, or who set that date?
Well, I think Council President Novak and myself talking through this, seeing the crisis that we're in, knowing officers are leaving, other people are leaving every day. And again, to give some security to our public safety teams that, hey, this thing is passing, that's what they're looking for. And I'm not sure how much time is really needed to talk about this. As well, you run into, just to be honest, political ramifications from the county council. If you allow them to push off beyond an election, that can cause a change in thought process as well. And if we want this, if we believe this is the future, the time is now. And again, the end of March should give you enough time, as in the middle of February, before then, to really understand where Michigan City residents stand on this. And we're also available to talk, to get information, whatever we can do. Feel like we're all in this together. Don't hesitate, Mayor, council people, be glad to chat about anything. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mayor Dermody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Don Problinski. Just one more quick question. And I know that I think you said that when the state put in the tax caps, a few years back, that they took a poll to see if people would be in favor of, a tax cap.
No, just voting when they actually Hoosiers voted for it at that time, and 70% voted for it because it was a tax reduction.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but they had a chance to vote on it and express their opinion, correct?
Correct. I mean, the people voted
Okay.
statewide.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dermody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Dermody, Mayor.
Thank you.